Hello and happy Monday. This video is to show you how to do your research paper body paragraphs. This will apply to not just your first topic, but your second and third topics as well. So when you click on your assignment, the information that is listed in the instructions, this is from your research paper packet. The first page of it had the bullet marks with all your topic choices. This is just copied and pasted from that. Most of what goes on in this video is also referenced here, so it's here in print in case you don't want to rewatch the video. You've got a handful of links. The first one, like the intro paragraph, is what you are typing on. Also, like the intro paragraph, it should already be set up in terms of the formatting for Times New Roman, 12-point font, 1-inch margins, all of that stuff, so you shouldn't have to change that. Just bear in mind, if you do copy and paste anything over like a quote, that font might be different or that size might be different, so you might have to adjust that, but otherwise it should be ready to go for you. Like the last time as well, if you want to click up your document that you are typing on here and then add the instructions and then put them window by window, that way you've got all the instructions right next to you as you're writing rather than having to go back and forth between the tabs. So I've color-coded for you once again. The top part is the hints and reminders and the instructions, and then the bottom part is a matching example for you. So the top part here just clarifies the fact that this will apply to all 3 body paragraphs that you're doing. As it says as well, if you do need additional paragraphs, if you're finding that your paragraph is getting a little bit too lengthy and you need to split it up, it's perfectly fine if you go on to more than 1 paragraph. So the first thing that you need is a topic sentence. Like your thesis, please avoid saying my first topic is, or I'm going to talk about. Say something about your topic, like the example down below. If your topic is Hitler, Hitler was the dictator of Germany. That's really all that you would need to start with. If your topic is Auschwitz, Auschwitz was the largest death camp. Say something about your topic, not necessarily one of your quoted facts or statistics, but just say something about it, who they were, or what that place was like. In total, you're going to have 2 citations in each paragraph, which for the 3 topics will result in 6 overall. It's easiest if you add in 1 direct quote and 1 paraphrase per paragraph. As it says, each time that you do use a fact from your source sheets, you need to cite it right after that sentence. You cannot wait until the end of the paragraph or the paper to include the citations. I've added this in a different color yellow because a lot of times students will end up doing the entire paragraph and then at the very bottom they write all this information was found on, and then they list whatever sources they used. You cannot do that. MLA format is the format that we use in English, and that basically goes against all of it. The other 2 links that you've got here are how to do the direct quotation format and the rubric. And so real quick, if I show you the rubric, your standard is listed in the bullet mark here, and your standard asks you to put in information into a paper, essentially, and follow a standard format for citation. And if all you do is have a huge paragraph and then just your sources at the very bottom, your MLA citations are missing or completely incorrect, you would be looking at a 1. So please make sure to follow the instructions in the video and the written instructions to make sure that does not end up happening to you. Also, as you're adding in your information, some of you did have a decent amount of information. A handful of you, I did comment that you might have to actually go through and cut out some of the information that you might not need. What I don't want you to see you do is just go through and copy and paste huge chunks of info and then just leave them there. Once again, looking at that rubric, Your other standard asks you to select the information, organize that information, and analyze that information as you are adding those ideas into your paper. And if you just have huge chunks of info without context, that once again, information is lumped together with no context or connections, you're not looking at a very good grade. So go through the information that you took down for your first topic and figure out what details would be important, the most important to include, how you're going to organize them, what order they're going to go in, and then which ones are you going to use as a direct quote, which ones are you going to use as a paraphrase or a summary. Once you do have your information and your citations, the blue and the yellow here, after each fact, I also need you to explain it in some way, shape, or form. If all you're doing is copying and pasting over or paraphrasing the information of others, but you don't add any ideas of your own, that doesn't really show any learning, just shows that you can copy and paste. And as I showed you, the standard does not ask you to show me how to copy and paste. So, the explaining sentence, you can either explain how it relates to your other topics, you can explain how it supports your topic sentence, you can just clarify why it's important, you can elaborate and clarify what it means if it's a more complex sentence or if it's got harder terminology and historic vocabulary. Explain it in simpler terms. Those are a variety of ways that you can explain your quotes or your paraphrases. Then at the end of the paragraph, you'll need a transition that leads into the next one without saying, my next topic is going to be whatever. If you're thinking about Kristallnacht and your next topic is going to be Oskar Schindler, you could say something like, even though many Germans attacked the Jews during Kristallnacht, some people were good, such as Oskar Schindler. Now you have a good transition. So the bottom of the page, I've got an example paragraph color-coded to match topic sentence here. First topic sentence, Treaty of Versailles marked the end of World War I. I'm saying something about it without saying my first topic is the Treaty of Versailles. I've got in blue my paraphrased and directly quoted info. The first one is a paraphrase, so I don't need quotation marks. The second one is a direct quote, meaning it's word for word, and so I do need quotation marks. In red, I have an explanation of each one. Sometimes I just go a little bit beyond what the text says. Sometimes I use my own background knowledge. Sometimes I can make inferences. Those are all good ways of explaining your quotes and your paraphrases. And then I've got in green here, transition going into a paragraph about Hitler. So if you want, you can read through that on your own to see how I link the information together and how my explanations differ from the quotes or paraphrases. One of the tricky things about this is I was planning on using books, being in the library, and since we are using websites rather than books, oftentimes you're not going to see authors and you will likely not have page numbers either. So at the bottom of this, I do have a short little blurb on citing websites. It looks like it's a little bit more information than what it really is. Basically, I have the explanation up here. Typically with the websites, you're not going to see an author. So in that case, you will need an article title instead. And instead of the author's name, you'll have the article title in parentheses and in quotation marks. The green handout that this references here to see where the punctuation goes, that for the most part will be the same. And if you have your green sheet on hand, that's the one with all the circles. If not, I've linked it on here. The formatting went haywire. I will change that. But it should show you where the quotation marks go, where the comma goes, where the period goes. The period will always be the last thing when you're doing your citations. So the rest of what is on your explanation instruction page here is each of the 4 websites that I showed that you could use, whether it's the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum, Jewish Virtual Library, Encyclopedia Britannica, or History.com. I've got one example of what a direct quote should look like, and then one example of what a paraphrase from that website should look like. So each time that you are writing your own paper up here and you've got your either paraphrase or direct quote, if you want to see how to specifically add in the correct info that you need for the citation, look down here. The direct quote is first for each one, so you'll see the quotation marks, and then the paraphrase is the second one, so the only time you see quotation marks in that is around the article title. The article title, I did ask you to, when you were writing down your information, to also include what website you were using, so you should be able to just click up each of the websites. Typically speaking, the websites will be, or the title of the websites will be whatever topic you chose. This is United States Holocaust Memorial Museum. If your topic is Hitler, the title of this article wound up being Hitler, so you don't need to change anything. For this one, Auschwitz-Birkenau, they added a little bit more to it, so then you would need all of that in the quotation marks in parentheses to show where you got the source. This one, it has the title up top, but I'm also seeing an author here. So if it does have an author, then you include the author's name instead of the article title, but you would still need the article title to show where that person published that information. You don't necessarily need for the paraphrases to indicate which website you used. It's a lot easier for the phrasing if you include it for the direct quotes, but you don't need it. I don't need a reference that this paraphrase here came from history.com because I am using the title in quotation marks at the bottom. Or same here, Auschwitz-Birkenau, History and Overview. For the Jewish Virtual Library one, I don't need to include Jewish Virtual Library in the paraphrase. So you will likely not see authors. Sometimes you might see like history.com editors, or on the Jewish Virtual Library, there's nothing at the top. If you scroll down to the very, very bottom, it lists a variety of people and sources, but it doesn't say who all wrote this article and who put that information together. Those would be the times then that you would need the article title instead of an author's name. If I'm looking at United States Holocaust Memorial Museum, I don't see an author listed at the top, so I go down to the bottom of the article. All it says for an author, it doesn't list a name, so you would need the title. So, like I said, that would apply to each of the 3 body paragraphs. Just to recap then, as you are writing your paper, we are only doing the first body paragraph for today, and yes, I would still like you to submit. You'll need a topic sentence. You will need at least 2 facts from your information sheet that you gathered. One should be a paraphrase, one should be a direct quote. An explanation for each one, and then a transition leading on into the next paragraph. I'll also be linking a video that just briefly goes through the difference between a direct quote and a paraphrase. So if you need a little refresher on that, I realize it's been a while, take a quick watch through that video. But paraphrase, essentially, you are putting it into your own words. And you should be able to see how I did that in these examples here. I've got a direct quote, and then the paraphrase, I've taken this exact direct quote and just put it into my own words. If you are needing assistance with that, again, you can leave comments in the private comments section of the document. My Zoom meeting this week is at 10 o'clock if you want to ask questions there. Otherwise, one topic, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we're essentially working on a new topic, and then Tuesday, Thursday, I have time built in for working on revisions in case you need to change things or if there are any issues with these citations. So feel free to give me a question or send me a question if you come up with any. Otherwise, have a good day and a good week.